Hey everyone, it's Matt from Unbearable 73. Welcome back to another episode. And we're back at it with reviewing Sharpe. We're up, I know it's been about a month. I took a little bit of a mental break. I admit I watched some TV shows based on mood. Uh, Excuse me. Oh, yeah. Sorry. So, this is season 2, episode 3, Sharpe's Honor. Of course, based on another one of the books. So, speak ahead of time. So if you just want to know what I think of my like rating or whatever, this is probably like a 6 or 7 out of 10. Um, of all the episodes of Sharpe, even though I enjoyed watching the episode, it is the one where the flaws in the episode leapt out to me the most, and they're the sort of issue I've mentioned every episode I think that I've reviewed is I have a feeling that there are scenes that were filmed that were cut, or that were written into the script that were not filmed, which would make the transitions between the scenes in the film smoother, and would provide and provide explanations for things are occurring off screen, but would rather than see the effects of, so to speak. There's several points in this movie where it's like, even though it's episodes of a movie, it's basically each episode is a movie, where something happens, and because that's happening, something else happened off screen, but you have to make that logical deduction, and I don't mean like if so, like the simple stuff, if someone's living, like if a year passes in the film, and like in the fourth act of the film, it's like 9 months later or whatever. um, they ate food every day. Of course, they're not dead. Right? Like that's an obvious inference. What I mean is more like actual elements of the plot are occurring, and because those plot elements occur, I'll try to if I see one when I do my skim through, I'll point one out. Right, but all I'm saying is it's still enjoyable, but the story feels like it had holes in it that they should have either put more of those scenes in or fill more what was in the script. Like if I were to read this novel this is based on, I have a feeling it'll be let's say there's 10 chapters. It'll be like reading 3 out of every 4 chapters. You'd still kind of know what's going on as long as you read the first 3 and the last 3 chapters, but you would kind of be missing some chunks in there. Anyway, let's kind of get into it. This is the first episode where they actually, the theme song, the closing theme of the show is "Over the Hills and Far Away." They actually mentioned that as a line in the episode, and usually that's pretty cheesy when they do that sort of stuff. This way, it was actually pretty good. Now, this takes place after and again, I'm going to mention, like I said, there's clearly some sort of time gap between the last film and this one. So how much? It's obviously less than 9 months. You know, uh, because we know, how do I put it? Uh, so Dara O'Malley plays Harper. I know I'm from Wilson pronouncing that right. His wife is pregnant, and she has the baby in this episode, right? So, but she was still pregnant in the last episode, I believe she. So I'm guessing based on the time skip involved, how long the Adventures of Napoleon's campaign that I'm roughly familiar with. There's at least 5 months, but not more than 7 months between the 2 episodes. Okay, and it would have been nice if they had kind of given you more than the screen crawl of what's going on in the Napoleonic Wars, like you know. Anyway, let's get into it. So, this opened up after the last episode where Sharpe's let's say about 4 or 5 months after the last episode, Sharpe's wife has been killed. There's no mention of Sharpe's daughter, so presumably one of Teresa's um, handmaids is taking care of her for Sharpe. I'm looking at the timeline of the films now. So episode 4 and 5, excuse me, Sharpe's Enemy, the one before this, and basically a whole bunch of the next episodes all occur in 1813, right? So everything from now, the season 3 episode, everything from the previous episode, which is season 3 episode 2, right, all the way through Sharpe's siege, and then parts of Sharpe's mission occur in this 1 year. So I guess it's a pivotal year of the war. Okay? So it's so we get. So Wellington has begun his great offensive to finally drive the French from Spain. Napoleon defeated in Russia his armies in northern Europe and retreating disarray and is determined to hold Spain at all costs. Of course, we see the army going here, and we see the French intelligence agency agent who's been Ducat or do something. I can't remember. Can't quite catch his name. He's talking to Napoleon here. This guy has been the primary sort of motivator of the French for the last 2 episodes. He has a thing against Sharpe because of Sharpe countering some of his plans, and he's setting in an emotion here. And Napoleon's on the losing end of the battle, so he's willing to. Napoleon's always been willing to. The perception is, and I know there are Francophiles, for people friends of the French, who will say I'm taking the English side in this or whatever. And obviously, we romanticize the sense of English and French honor and all that sort of stuff, because this show does depict the brutality of war with graping and all that. The way war was prior to the modern standard, where or Europe for the most part led the way in say maybe from World War II forward ish of getting rid of a lot of the horrors of soldiers doing certain things on the battlefield, under severe penalty, But so Napoleon is sitting here, he's a little depressed, and he sends Major Ducat. Can never remember his name. Anyway, let's get going here. So Napoleon here talking about using the wife of one of the Spanish noblemen that a half French English woman who was a spy for Napoleon. He had to marry the guy and to sort of manipulate him, right? And they want to use that guy to send a letter saying that Sharpe was inappropriate with her, so her husband would challenge Sharpe to a duel because they want this guy to be killed by Sharpe in a duel. Well, Sharpe gets stopped. There's Wellington and Wellington's right hand man, his left hand man, his intelligence officer. Right. Sharpe depressed with Teresa's dead. There's Harper, his right hand man. Trying to console him a little bit. They're like brothers. French garrison. The intelligence expert looking around, trying to. This is. Like I said, there's a whole sequence of events being set in motion here. The countryside. I wonder where they filmed this. Well, let me take a quick look through here. I know I'm a little. Oh man. Anyway, let's get going here. So I literally liked the background is beautiful. Wherever they filmed this was great. I don't know where they filmed it. It's Alice Creed from French Southbound Woman showing that she's seducing people. She's a spy. She does really good in this. She played the Border Queen in Star Trek Generations, by the way. With no problem with her. I personally don't dislike the idea of the bored queen, but the actress was very respectable. Now, of course, she's with the French spy master, and this is when they're setting in motion the letter that's going to frame Sharpe. Now, one criticism I have, it took, I don't know, it felt like this episode felt like it was longer. Even though I felt like there should have been more scenes in it to explain it, it felt like it was longer. It felt like it was dragging a little bit, especially early, getting the plot in motion. Oh, excuse me. I wonder if I would have thought differently if they had more of the plot elements, so the pacing would have been smoother. And this is getting orders from Wellington. This is when the Spanish guy shows up and challenges Sharpe to the duel. This is the Spanish second. He slaps him. And they depict Sharpe has a temper, okay, which is so. One thing that is appreciable about this, and this was true of last episode, where Sharpe had an affair on his wife. He's a flawed guy. He's not like a paladin. He's not an iconoclast, you know. So he has a temper. He has passions, and he has trouble controlling them sometimes. You know, like he's a guy who tries to do the right thing, but will still sometimes do the wrong thing. Okay, and I think it's a funny thing with Harper and his relationship. Like Harper's looking at him like he knows something's up here. He knows that Sharpe is going to react to something that's going to happen, and he's like, "Hey, what can I got to watch out for my buddy here?" You know, he's Harper is fiery but very controlled fire, whereas Sharpe is like cold and hot and no in between, which is good character balance. So let's see if we get the slap. So he comes up and he gets the slap, the challenge to the duel on behalf of the French count or whatever he was. And of course, there's Sharpe and Harper going to the duel. Ducos. Okay, I got his name down. So that's the Marquisa, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, okay. So I'm sorry, I'm getting down. Sorry, guys. So now the thing important, remember, Wellington has banned duels. Okay, I don't know if they ever explained why he did that in the show. Um, that's probably something in the books that has a kind of an explanation behind it, right? But I don't know if they, you know, uh, okay, and the duel looks pretty cool for the duel is a guy who's trained in swordsmanship versus a guy who's a trained soldier, and you see some, and not in the sort of circusy way that you got in Gladiator, but in the sort of practical way where Sharpe says, I'm gonna use my soldiering skills, what I do when in the battlefield, to overcome your finesse with the blade. You know, Harper is because these two guys go as basically a second, and then what happens is he gets there. He tells us Harper and the other guy stay back. I'll take total consequences of this duel upon me. You know, you got now that guy there, the priest. We'll go back one scene. That see the priest in the he's sitting on a horse. He is one of the intelligent operatives working with Ducos. He's a Spanish guy. He's a Spanish conniver, as it were. Because there's a complicated plot with they want to. So Napoleon knows he's losing to the British army. He's also lost to the Russians. So he's basically fought a war on multiple fronts and doesn't have the resources to keep both of it up. Okay, um, so to deal with Spain, what he wants to do is he makes a deal with one of the candidates for the King of Spain, Ferdinand, if I recall correctly in the show, to say, okay, uh, I'll, I'll give you, I'll help you be king. You just got to declare it politically neutral, so the British, you know, so then I can go back to France, and this front gets closed up, and the British have to lose, will suffer a major loss because then your army will help mine crush them and we leave or whatever. It sounds convoluted, but I don't think the show does a great job of explaining. Excuse me. Why do I get this weird? Okay. The show doesn't do a great job explaining the logic here. The strategic logic. The practical logic is there brought some once there's two or three sides in the Spanish part of this war, and one of them is plotting to basically steal stuff from a nobleman, the Marquis here, and use his wife who is the spy to get Sharpe, and they either want Sharpe to kill this guy, therefore causing a rift with the Spanish and the British, or what happens later when the duel gets stopped, they blame Sharpe for killing him. Okay, and the Spanish guy here, who works for the church, wants to take control of this guy's assets, because back then it was a scam where, yes, you were a churchman, but you would steal assets from nobles. The Inquisition, which is what they want to bring back, would, on its face, the Inquisition was very barbaric and tortured people and blah blah blah. It really was a grift scheme to steal money from nobles who were easily accused of being heretics or being Jewish or Muslim or not Catholic. It was basically a scheme to take their wealth. So you have to do a pretty good short exchange, showing the two contrasted styles. I kind of like it. Enjoyed. Not obviously not as on the level of the Duelist, for example. Sharpe has Sharpe is fighting like a soldier. This guy's fighting like a like a nobleman duelist, using his fancy skill. And Sharpe is like, I had it. I'm gonna beat you like I beat on the field. And of course, the Wellington guy stopped the duel. Said duel's illegal. They said this duel never happened. These were practicing swordsmanship because they don't want there to be any duel out there because that would cause disruptions in the British ranks and Wellington's violation of Wellington's orders. All pretty good. He heads off, knows his plan has been foiled, and of course, he doesn't where Marquis leads, you follow. He goes to sleep, and he's gonna get murdered. I don't think they even show it. I don't think yeah. Okay, there's a guy going to murder him. That's his brother, if I remember correctly. Now, why there wouldn't be, this is a little of a plot hole here, why there wouldn't be guards on this guy's tent? Then they go to arrest Sharpe. Ducos thinks his plan's working. They have the trial of Sharpe. Sharpe is sentenced to hang. The Marquesa is taken and given to the convent because, in the Marquise's will, if the Marquesa goes to the convent, all the stuff goes to the church. Part of the scam, the Inquisition, like I mentioned. Plot's moving along. Sharpe is sentenced to death, and then right away, there's a scam because they don't show Sharpe's face. They show the hangings at a great distance, and especially that Sharpe isn't dead, obviously because he's the hero of the thing. They only show a great distance. The men up there probably all in on the plan. The chosen men were going to bust him out and run away because they were loyal to Sharpe, but they're all loyal so they can't see what's going on. And now he's Sharpe. Now this is Rosa or Ramona or whatever. Ramona. She's pregnant. She's about 8 months pregnant. The the plot's advancing. Good pacing. This is where Harper finds out that Sharpe's alive, and you see the camaraderie between the two. Great. These two are great. These two are great together on screen. I hope they did something other than the show. They did a lot of episodes of this show. I hope they did something other than because these two have great chemistry, like good bromance feelings, you know. And basically, I told you know, and I'm not gonna go point by point. This is the one intelligence contact was like, the French killed him, a priest that there was the intelligence from. He gave them a little bit of info, even when he was dying, you know. But whether they had to get to the Marquesa basically. So to break the plot open, that to get to the Marquesa and bring her to Wellington, so he could get the proper, so he can find out why she framed Sharpe, you know, and find out what the plot because they know that Major Narn who's the intelligence operative for Wellington, knows there's a scam afoot. Wellington knew. That's why Wellington faked Sharpe's death. He's like, look, Sharpe, if you can get this, fine. If not, then don't come back. You just live your life, you know. Because he did the most he could do for him, you know. And you know it advances, and you know, now, again, this is another thing where so Sharpe and Harper fall in with these Spanish, one of the Spanish factions. We know this is the guy who murdered the other guy. We know he's the guy who murdered the Marquis. So we know this that he's a bad guy. Sharpe and Harper don't. They know that the Spanish partisans are involved in this somehow. So and they know that the Spanish partisans have the Marquesa. So this kind of they know something's up, but they know he's deeply involved. So they go there. You get the whole plot. They have a fake Marquesa, so they don't know that Sharpe knows what the Marquesa looks like. You know, so a fake Marquesa that's killed her. So they think Sharpe and Harper just go away because they don't know what Sharpe. They think Sharpe is dead. You know, so the pretty good plot, and the acting is pretty good. They set this guy up to be a villain pretty well. The Spanish partisan leader, I liked him, not a lot, but he's basically the final boss that Sharpe fights in this thing, and it's a good final fight. I was okay with that. You know, he's not as good a villain as the guy from the last couple episodes, the one who murdered Sharpe's wife, Sharpe's enemy, as it were. You know. So that's fake Marquesa. Sharpe knows the jig is up, so to speak. They go. That's the convent where the Marquesa is. Now, this is kind of a good scene. Sharpe busts into the convent, and the nuns are like, you know, a bit of comedy. This is the type of comedy you would see in this thing, where you know Sharpe can't be shown murdering nuns. He's not the type of guy who would, but so they have a food fight basically with the nuns, and this is pretty good. So let me see if I can catch some of that food fight. Here we go. So the nuns are pouring food. They start lobbing food at him. You know, that's the Marquesa. She's been gagged and she's been forced to work as a scullion. You know, crazy nun with a hatchet, man. So, again, this is pretty funny. It's played for a little bit of comedy, which is good. You know, so I enjoyed that. Then we're back to once they escape with her. So Sharpe and Harper realize that they're not going to escape by horse. You know, between the horse being slow because of one's carrying two. If they had a third horse, they probably would have tried to escape completely, which is good logic. It's good. This is a lot of times it's happened when something like this part happened in a movie. It's a little shaky. You say, why did they just ride the horses out? Well, the logic is sound because a horse carrying two people is going to be slower than a horse carrying one person, whereas their horse were carrying one, so they would eventually catch up to them. Sharpe was like, we can't escape on the horses, so they let the horses lead them away, giving them time to actually escape on foot. Which gets limited because Sharpe is wounded, and then we get a little bit of the romance. I thought this was a little pushed, having Sharpe and her have a weird romance and all this, you know. And this is, of course, Ramona giving birth. Yeah, a little bit of comedy out of this where Sharpe's men are the midwives to Ramona's baby. I wonder if that happened in the book. Harper goes off to do some scouting, and then of course Sharpe gets it on with the Marquesa. They bond personally, and works out pretty good. So the Marquesa's men, who don't know about the plot against the Marquis, they're loyal to her because she is her husband's wife. Find her, and because she said Sharpe helped her, he's saying, "Look, I can take you into custody and release you in France, right? With no like say I'll hide you from the French. Say you're just a British nobleman, or I can turn you over to Ducos's camp." And Sharpe's honor doesn't allow him to go with the Marquesa to freedom because he's also fight a war, right? But this is showing like a little bit of honor and nobility. The Marquesa's trying to do the right thing. Yeah, she got on with Sharpe, but she bonded and was loyal to him for helping her. So this is a good bit of plotting right here, a good portrayal. I enjoyed that, and I enjoyed. I guess it was part of the novel. I wish Teresa had still been alive and this little romance with the Marquesa wasn't involved, and we saw more of the Spanish partisan factions. If they ever redid this series, I would see a lot more of that before they killed Teresa. So Sharpe gets turned over, wound up in Ducos's camp. Wellington and Narn are plotting his final battle with the French. Harper shows back up with the men and meets his baby son Patrick, and then takes the chosen men on a mission, which they find Sharpe's alive, and they're going to infiltrate, and their goal is try to get Ducos captured, right? But then they find out intelligence that's critical. They escape. They blow up. The French camp gets blown up. Now this is the battle, the important battle, and eventually Sharpe gets back and his men lead the column. They turn the tide because Sharpe is not only a good commander, he's inspirational, and he gets back in time. And obviously, there's a little bit of the the Horatio Hornblower. He's the right man for the right time. But again, no problems with that because this is how it's portrayed. He's not superhuman. He doesn't get wounded. He keeps getting hit in the leg. You think that leg would be pretty bad by now. But again, I really enjoyed the particular scenes, right? The battle scenes are fairly good. You don't. The combat maybe could have been a little more accurate. But you see a guy with the sword, but guys who don't know the sword, Now, I didn't like that with the double gunning. That guy's supposed to be a marksman. I liked him showing taking guys out instead of that. Sharpe and his men take the hill. Now Ducos is retreating, and the French soldiers think he's not a Frenchman, but then they find out he's a major with intelligence from Napoleon, and they shoot him. So Ducos gets his deserts from the French, and turns out these aren't French. Those aren't Frenchmen. Those are actually Spanish partisans undercover, pretending to be Frenchmen, looting. That part you got to figure out. I had to watch that sequence a couple of times to figure it out. That's why I think this got missing. So, in other words, you're like, why are they shooting him? But if you watch the ending, go back and watch, you realize that it was Spanish partisans pretending to be Frenchmen who did the looting, right? And when Ducos rode through them, he thought they were Frenchmen, and they should have showed something to make that more clear. So Sharpe and men come over the hill. They find the Marquesa's camp, as it were. He realizes that the Spanish, the partisans have her again. He sees them riding off because they're showing off their. You can see one of them still has the French hat on. That's how. Not those Spanish, sorry. The actual Spanish troopers come with him, and so basically he has the Marquesa, and he has a duel with this weird French dueling style. I wasn't impressed by this duel. This whole chain yanking thing. Sharpe is a big guy. He should have been able to overpower this guy. This is the chain finding gimmick didn't work for me. I'll admit that. Anyway, Sharpe kills the guy. Hero returns to camp. Wellington and Narn are impressed that their men that they've raised, that Sharpe and the rogues are the chosen men they've raised well. So And then of course, now Wellington had given Sharpe a telescope as an award for his service. Duclos stomped on it. She gives him a telescope to replace that her husband had. So again, it all works out, and and of course you get the over the hills and far away ending. Sharpe. That's how it always goes. Sharpe looking and he goes over the hill far away. Blah blah. It's over. So all in all, it's a good episode. So I would have liked to see some of those in between scenes a little better, if you know what I mean. Like, how to put it? Like the part, like for example, I showed you when you realize later that was the Spanish partisans, the bad guy ones, who were dressed as French guys, taking the Marquesa hostage and stealing her stuff. You realize that later, but they should have shown you something like then when they killed Ducos, they should have shown you something to indicate that a little better, right? So there's a bunch of that sort of thing in this episode. I don't want to belabor the point, this is my least favorite of all of them. So, I'm just going to take a quick look-see and see so written by Bernard Cornwell in the novel and Colin McDavid. So let's go back and see if he wrote the previous episodes. Let's go to Sharpe's Enemy. Written by, so Eogan Harris wrote the previous one. Charles Wood. So there's a different writer, looks like, on every one of them. Okay, who's our director? Tom Clegg. So the director seems consistent. So there's a bit of a writing change. I think Cornwell is involved in all of it, and there were some writers working on it different. This guy was a different. So maybe he didn't. Maybe he was a little weaker on structure. I don't know. But I thought the writing. I thought the problem where they were skipping scenes, right, was more pronounced in the skipping events in the book that you know how to occur. Not filming it or not including in the movie. I thought that was worse in this one than in previous. Okay, so I don't want to belabor the point. Like I said, this is kind of like a 6.5. So I'm between a 6 and a 7 out of 10. A lot of good scenes in it. The characters are still great. The setting is still great. The sound is still great. The individual scenes are still very good. So that's my opinion. My name is Matt. This has been on Rebel 70 reviewing Sharpe's Honor. The next up is Sharpe's Gold, which I'll hopefully get to by next week or the week after. Have a nice day or night or whenever you're watching this. Like if you like, dislike if you dislike. Comment down below if you have any questions. And share it out, please. Thank you. Have a nice day.